Are you struggling managing your analysis and calibration data? Keeping track of your sample and test schedules? If so, ProTrend can help. I'm Kayla. I'm a client service specialist with ProTrend. If you've reached this video, you likely already know a high level of what ProTrend can do. Now, let me show you how ProTrend works and how ProTrend can save you money. Composition data is a vital part of allocation and revenue accounting. Ensuring that it is up to date and validating it to make sure it's right is time-consuming. This, as well as your contractual obligations and regulatory mandates, increase your workload. So, put all your meters, schedules, and sampling data and calibration data into a single system, ProTrend. Let me show you how ProTrend is implemented and how ProTrend is operated. When you sign on with ProTrend, most of the implementation will be handled by your ProTrend team. Your team will merely need to answer questions, provide the correct data, and help us organize your ProTrend account to meet your business needs. After we receive the data, we will set up facilities, wells, sample points, and meters. We also have the ability to set up a hierarchy that's based on your reporting needs. This is a facility setup page. Here we will link any of your active and inactive wells and the associated sample points and meters. On this page, you will see the most recent analysis loaded under the sample point and the most recent calibration under the meter. Instead of having data stored across multiple systems, ProTrend can provide your secure, cloud-based single repository. During the implementation process, once we've established your database and hierarchy, we will begin collecting your historical data. In order for this process to work, we will need to collect all the data from the lab and the field. This way, once we hand over the keys to your account, you will have access to previous trending data and be able to identify any exemptions you may be eligible for. Once we have loaded the historical data, we will work with you to create a schedule. ProTrend is your one-stop shop that manages your schedules of sample collections and calibrations. This helps reduce your redundancies and oversampling costs. Instead of managing your schedules through various field offices or area foremen, let us help and keep it in one place. Using the ProTrend scheduling management tool, we can create each schedule based on the frequency of your contractual requirements. As an example, I'll create a monthly schedule for every 1 month for the next 5 years. ProTrend also has options to schedule different test types. For this example, we will schedule a C7 plus liquid analysis. Any specific instructions or comments can be held in the comment box below. Upon completion of the schedule, ProTrend also includes an association tool. In this example, you can see that the January instance is green. This indicates that we've received an analysis that associates with that instance. Any instance in red indicates that we have missed an analysis or have not yet received it. Any instance in white indicates an upcoming schedule. When the schedules have been created, ProTrend can track all outstanding calibration and sample requirements through the reporting tool. Not only can we track this data, we can also automatically distribute it to avoid any lengthy email feeds and missed attachments. This will help to ensure that your schedules are compliant and avoid any non-compliance penalties. At the end of each month, a schedule report will be pulled for the upcoming month. This will indicate the samples and tests that are to be completed. For our calibration module, we have PDF editable templates that have been created using industry standards and best practices. This will allow for your E&I companies and operators to complete these calibrations without missing any pertinent information. Once this information is entered into ProTrend, it will be stored and validated through the software. This will also assist with any compliance and process improvement. ProTrend can integrate with multiple labs and can communicate with the field or any third-party contractors that sample or test your meters. Once the calibrations and analyses have been collected, we can accept the reports directly from the labs and the fields and load them into ProTrend. This ultimately removes any unnecessary time delay of you emailing the data to us. After an analysis or a calibration is loaded into ProTrend, it is validated against criteria limits that are established and maintained by your company. These limits can be customized on a per area basis, per sample point basis, or per company. Any analysis that meets ProTrend criteria is immediately available for export for any user, with no requirement for validation. Any analysis that does not meet ProTrend criteria is flagged and awaits validation by a qualified user. Validators are notified of analyses awaiting validation when they log into ProTrend using the widgets on the dashboard. Through this validation screen, we can compare source conditions to received conditions, view any notes made by the lab, and any previous validation comments. There are 4 types of validation checks performed on each component of the analysis: a low normal, a high normal, a percent compare, and a standard deviation. A green checkmark indicates that a component value meets ProTrend criteria. A red X symbol indicates that a component value does not meet ProTrend criteria and falls outside of the limits. Given a monthly flow rate and an estimate of market value, ProTrend will provide an estimated sample value that will ensure a more consistent evaluation of your product. And depending on if the analysis fits into the previously established trends, the validator can either pass or fail it. If the analysis fails, the validator is prompted with a selection of reasons and the opportunity to reschedule. The calibration validation screen works in a very similar way. You can review all the key factors on one screen in order to validate efficiently. This includes the high-low limits and a different from previous indicator. By utilizing ProTrend's validation tool, you can validate by exception and reduce your administrative work. This will allow you to focus on and eliminate analyses that will result in significant measurement or allocation error. Once you have validated, a high-level trending feature on the sample point page will allow for the easy recognition of outlier results. We have talked about how we get your data into ProTrend, how we validate it, and how we trend it. Now let's talk about how we report your data and distribute it accordingly. Whether this is a simple email of validated results or the sending or receiving of information between ProTrend clients, ProTrend creates an electronic copy that automatically queues up for distribution upon validation. ProTrend interfaces to most measurement and allocation systems, integrating accurate and validated data and eliminating the need to key in analyses manually. This electronic interface includes NetFlow, WebSCADA, and ProChart systems, as well as other industry-standard measurement and production accounting systems. Data to third-party companies is automatically sent and a complete audit trail is maintained. With your ProTrend subscription, your implementation fee will include the database creation, the loading of historical calibrations and analyses, as well as training. Once we've created your database and handed it off to you, your monthly subscription will be based on the number of meters. There's also no limit to the number of users you can set up, and if granted, your third-party companies can have access to your database. Thank you for spending the last 10 minutes with me. I hope that I've shown you the value that ProTrend can offer you and your company.